So we're here today with a Farm Enterprise competition being run by Farming Connect, and it's the 23rd of August and it's the first day the lambs are grazing a forage crop. The aim of the competition really has been to challenge different teams throughout Wales to come up with a cost-effective lamb finishing option using forage crops. So the way it's worked is we've got 6 teams, each with 3 people in it from across Wales, and at the end of May they were given the task of finishing these lambs, beginning the grazing about sort of end of August, beginning of September, and they each had 2 acres of crop plus a run back, and they could do anything with that ground. So actually some have decided not to plant anything, that have gone with more of a grass-based option. Others have put in sort of a mix, a sort of a forage brassica mix, and then we're going to get the lambs grazing on that now for up till the end of November. And through that period, all the lambs are weighed before they went on there, and we're going to be monitoring their weight gain. And as lambs become ready for finishing, they're going to be sent to Dunbeer and Llanybydder. And at that point, obviously, they'll get the grades and carcass weights back as well. So, and the aim really in terms of what they're being judged on, because I'm one of the judges plus Charlie Morgan, I'm looking at the animal side of things, and Charlie's looking more at the sort of the forage utilisation. So we'll be looking at things like what crops they've selected. And obviously it was things they had to decide about fertiliser use, spraying, cultivation methods. That's been a very interesting one, looking at the variation and how that's affected crop establishment. And then so we're going to judge them on that, and I'm going to look at things like their decisions based on worming and vaccination, and then how they handle the lambs, how they select them for finish. So they'll have to decide what lamb weights they want to sell them at and all sorts of things. So it's sort of a mini sort of farming system really that they're going to be judged upon. So the focus of the event here today obviously is to see the lambs before they go on their forage crops. So the teams have had the chance to look at the crops since they've been planted, but really today's the first day we've all got back together and they've gone for a walk now looking at the crops. So in terms of the lambs, each team has got 50 lambs, and the average weight of those lambs now is 32 kilos. They're Texel lambs out of mule ewes, so they should obviously develop quite a bit further from that. So one of the things I'll be doing with them now is talking about target lamb growth rates and how that's going to affect days to finish. So it's it's quite interesting, and then hopefully from that we're going to end up talking about things like genetics and breeding decisions and that kind of thing. So there's lots of scope within the farming systems to modify lamb weights and improve lamb weights. So hopefully that's something that's going to come up through the course of the competition. And also then we're going to look at, obviously it's a short-term competition, but the kind of things we will be sort of looking at in terms of the judging process is if they were doing that on their own farm, what would the next step be? In terms of would they be looking at reseeding, so the value of forage crops as a break crop, so all those things will come into the decision as well. So they can't just look at the competition in isolation, they have to think about how they could apply it in the whole farming system.
So we're here today at Coleg Powyd in Newtown, and one of the challenges farmers have seen in the last 12 months with the bad weather conditions and everything else was seriously inflated concentrate prices. World prices of cereals have been astronomical, as high as they've ever been, through problems with climate and such like. That's something the farmer can't control, so therefore he's obliged to pay the high prices for concentrates. Now we're working here with Farming Connect and with Dunbeer and Sainsbury's to try and look at produce a consistent high quality lamb through the later part of the season, and in order to do that we're trying to look at cutting costs. If we're looking at our cost structure, one of the cheapest ways that farmers can look at reducing their costs and having control of the system is to actually select crops of protein and energy that they can grow on farm themselves. And what we have behind us is an effort by 6 teams looking at different opportunities of how they think that they can cut costs. The teams have generally selected variations on brassicas. They've all had soil analysis presented to them of the farm, which is the place to start. They have selected different fertiliser regimes which have had an impact on growth potential. They've selected different methods of introductions. Probably the team that's done the best are the ones that have rolled their crops well, captured the moisture through this dry summer period, and they've benefited from that extra cost. The question that we have to look at now is basically how will they utilise these crops. What we've achieved on these crops have been phenomenal. The challenge that these teams will have now is how many lambs per unit area will they graze, how will they utilise these crops to their most efficient standard, or will they end up wasting these crops, which will be detrimental to the profit line.
Helo, Dyfrig dwi, dod o Tŷ Newydd Llangwrfon, a ni dod yma heddi fel tîm yn cystadlu yn y gystadleuaeth Farmer Enterprise. A wedyn lan I chi beth i'ch sehau a beth i'ch esgu rwy'n arno. A wedyn ni wedi dewis rhai Brassica Express maen nhw'n galw cymysgedd o turnips, rep a wedyn rep cross kale. A wedyn byddwn ni'n troi rwy'n mewn heddi gobeithio. A wedyn byddwn ni'n tan tan canol mis Tachwedd I besgu ar ni, a wedyn hwnna sydd wedi gwneud y mwyaf o arian nhw mewn ffordd. Sy'n ennill Ysgolhaeth yn y diwedd.
Well, it's good to see so many different options side by side, like, and hopefully now when it'll be costed out, it gives you a lot more information on what is the right thing to do.
You can go home and put these different principles into practice. We've got 6 different strategies, although there's some similar crops. They've all been established different, and they're all unique that's been sown here, and there'll be some very interesting conclusions at the end to see, you know, which one has been the most successful, which one has costed out the best and created the best possible gross margin.